next order of business is public comment. Christine, will you manage the rest of this for public comment, please?
Yes, I will. So it's time for public comment. And if you would like to make a statement, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, just request, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Going once? Going twice? It looks like we don't have any public comment at this point.
All right, we're moving along. Item 4, BEAD policy notice update by Christina.
Go ahead, take it away, Christina.
Okay, thanks, Christine. So we provided in a packet a copy of the presentation that we gave several weeks ago on the BEAD restructuring policy notice. I will share that and highlight a few items from the notice, but I also want to mention that we also conducted a revised VT BEAD request for applications training last week. So some of this information is a little bit more vague than the final information that we were able to provide in that subsequent webinar last week. So as you know, on June 6th, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA, released the BEAD restructuring policy notice that superseded previous NTIA guidance and restructured the BEAD program along new guidelines. So our efforts since that date have been to restructure our program to meet the requirements of that policy notice. Couple of key changes that we want to highlight in the policy notice is that it requires a technology neutral approach. So we have made that change to our request for application, and it specifically defines the term priority broadband project in a way that is also technology neutral. So you can see here that the term priority broadband project means that the project will provide broadband service at speeds of no less than 100 megabits per second for downloads and 20 megabits per second for uploads, has a latency less than or equal to 100 milliseconds, and can easily scale speeds over time to meet the evolving connectivity needs of households and businesses. And lastly, supports the development of 5G, successor wireless technologies, and other advanced services. So it is technology neutral, but to meet the requirements of priority broadband project, applicants will need to show that they can meet these criteria. The policy notice also requires, sorry, I realized I was moving my note slide, did not this slide. So I'll just give folks a minute here to see the priority broadband project definition and talk a little bit about the benefit of the bargain round. So the policy notice required all states, even those that had already completed their subrecipient selection process, to open applications to another round, which they're calling the benefit of the bargain round. So we have been working to revise our request for applications, or RFA, and intend to open that benefit of the bargain round tomorrow, July 15th. I'm going to skip over the timeline slide because we actually have a updated timeline that we've updated since this presentation. And we also added a new process to our application process overall, which was a letter of intent. We encouraged applicants to submit letters of intent to us by, I believe, July 3rd. And that letter of intent would include the final project areas they intended to submit a proposal for, project technology types to be deployed, and estimated network speeds. And we received letters of intent from all applicable technologies. Another note on final project areas, we did not change our final project areas. So those folks that will be applying in the benefit of the bargain round will still need to apply to the same project areas that we had available in the last round. However, they will be able to propose to remove locations from those project areas if those locations are too costly to serve. So for us, we're sort of in the middle of the process right now. We have published our final request for applications. We've also published many application templates, including templates that will require applicants to show evidence of that their technology can meet the criteria to be a priority broadband project if they're applying for priority broadband projects. We will open the application on Tuesday, July 15th, and close that application on July 25th. I'm going to finish or stop sharing this presentation right now so that I can move to our updated timeline. 1 second.
Sarah, do you want to ask a question right now?
This is something you've already said, Kristen, but when you say you can remove something that's too costly to serve, there's that option. What happens to those areas then? I probably know this, but I can't recall what this is.
Yeah, so at the policy notice states that applicants can request or propose to remove locations from the project areas if they're too costly to serve. However, our requirement as the eligible entity under BEAD is to find a way to serve those locations. I'm going to actually see if Christine or Tony want to jump in a little bit on this issue as well, because it's something we've been talking quite a bit about.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about this. What we're doing, we're still keeping the original bid areas, and we're requiring those that want to remove those addresses to say what it would cost for those addresses so that we are still able to compare bids against each other. So for example, if someone came in and bid for all addresses in the area, that bid is going to be more expensive naturally because they have those added addresses. We're requiring the bidder that remove those addresses to say what they would have cost to serve those so we can compare the two. And additionally, we have a complete list of what all of the areas would cost based on our estimate. So that, we have that sanity check of our own numbers right down to the address, what it costs. We have this large spreadsheet that shows what those addresses would cost. So we do have a couple checks and balances to make sure that we're not being deceived. Tony, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, the only thing I would add to that is that, obviously if someone comes in and requests to remove an inordinate amount of addresses, that actually makes their bid not responsive to the project area, then that would be another issue.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks, you guys.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the timeline again, and then I will just share a couple of items from the presentation that we gave at the webinar last.
Yeah, the important thing to note on this timeline is make sure we present the timeline, Christina, and then let's talk about the August 25th board meeting.
Great.
Go ahead.
Are you able to see the timeline now?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So as you can see, this is a drastically shortened timeline from our original timeline to present our final proposal to NTIA. This is the case for all states. Final proposals are due for everyone on September 4th, 2025. So again, we are going to be conducting the application for the benefit of the bargain round over the next 10 days. We're going to be doing scoring and review as soon as that application round closes on July 25th. And then we would look to VCBB to possibly hold a special board meeting on August 25th to finalize that final proposal for the board to approve the process that we conducted. We're also required to conduct a public comment window that we would open on August 27th, close on September 3rd, and then submit our final proposal to NTA on September 4th.
So the question to the board is, how many of you could make a special meeting 1 hour on August 25th?
I could do that.
How far? That looks
We don't-
okay.
Okay,
Looks like I can do that.
okay.
Great. Well, we will
Brian, Yep, okay. So
provide more
we'll
information
have,
about that as soon as possible. Sorry, go ahead, Christine.
yeah, we'll have Ginny reach out to you specifically and nail down the time, and we'll
Christine,
provide. Yes,
excuse me, or Dan, I apologize. It would be helpful if it could not be from the 1 to 2 time period when I am at my director's meeting for work.
okay. Great.
Good point.
All right, we'll be following up on that. Thank you.
Wait, and just a
And
couple of
if you could
other
follow up.
items. Sorry.
Just to follow up with Patty to see what her calendar looks like as well. Sorry, Christine.
Thank you. Just a couple of other items that I wanted to highlight that are different about the revised request for applications now that it aligns with the policy notice is that the policy notice removed many items from the scoring criteria that we were planning on using, including affordability, fair labor standards, community input engagement, and local coordination. Although you will see that we still have a public comment period. So really we are, the 3 scoring criteria that remain are minimal BEAD program outlay, speed to deployment, and speed of network and other technical capabilities. And other than minimal BEAD program outlay, those other technical capabilities really don't kick in until we're comparing applications that are very similar in cost within 15% of each other. So our new scoring process is really to look at priority broadband projects and the total cost of the project and the BEAD outlay. And then when we're comparing projects that are very similar in cost, we will apply secondary scoring criteria, which in our case, and this is something that we were able to structure ourselves within the parameters of the policy notice, focuses on speed of network, other technical capabilities, and a small number of points awarded to preliminary provisional subgrantees. So in the cases where for a project area in our last round, we got, we really identified who would be receiving an award for that round. We would be able to give that applicant, should they choose to apply again, an additional 5 points. Yes, Christine.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too, that before we get to the secondary scoring criteria, all of the applicants need to meet the gating criteria. So we've established a set of technical specifications that each one of the technologies needs to meet. So for example, if you're fiber, there's a list of specifications you need to meet to demonstrate that your network is able to easily, to be easily increased to meet the demands of 5G and other technologies moving forward. So we've created that for each technology. So fiber has a technical spreadsheet, unlicensed fixed wireless, licensed fixed wireless, low Earth orbit satellite, etc. That would even before we get to gating criteria. We want to ensure that whatever technology is chosen for whatever location, that it can easily be grown to meet the future needs of those other technologies, as well as meet the current specification.
And these are the templates that we have for each of the technologies, as Christine just outlined. So those are the main things that I wanted to highlight today. Open to questions for the team.
Any questions? Seems like we're in a good place for evaluating under the new rules.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if there are no questions beyond that, thank you, Christina. We will go to the next item, number 5, budget
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, that would be Roz King. Go ahead, Roz.
Oh, our budget presentation is next.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Back to you, Christina.
All right. So I'm going to be supported here by our colleague from the Public Service Department, Financial Manager JB Ledoux, who has the backup data and can talk a little bit about the budget process, especially as we will be beginning the budget process for FY27 pretty shortly. So at our last meeting, we did look at the VCBB operating budget for FY26. We haven't made any changes to this budget. Still totals a maximum of 4.8 million. And with the two biggest categories being, of course, personnel costs and contractual costs. And we heard from the board that you wanted a little bit more information about the source of funding for this budget. So we have broken this down in a couple of different ways. Our budget is in general around 2/3 funded in FY26 by federal grants. And I have another slide that shows the detail on those grants. And from about 32.58% or 1/3 from the Universal Service Fund. So that's the high level breakdown of our budget, about 2/3 federal grants and 1/3 USF. Funding our operational expenses. I am hearing, I think it might be DV Fiber, if you're able to mute. Thank you. Next, we have a breakdown that actually includes our federal funding sources. The first is ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act Capital Projects Fund. That is currently funding some personnel costs and some contractual costs, especially around network inspection for those projects that are funded under CPF. Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, or BEAD funding, which is funding currently personnel costs, travel costs, and contractual costs, and will, outside of the operational budget, fund many of our deployment projects in the next year. That's the next category. We have 2 grants under the Northern Border Regional Commission that are currently funding some personnel and contractual costs. And then finally, about 1/3 of our total operational funding comes from USF. So this gives you a more detailed, nuanced breakdown of where those specific sources of funding are from. And I also have a slide that I'm happy to discuss if you would like, that breaks down the personnel funding in further detail. Yes, go ahead, Sarah.
Christina, thanks for all this. What is the Northern Border Regional Commission?
Yeah, the Northern Border Regional Commission, and I can actually bring up their website quickly, is a partnership between, it's sort of a federal state partnership, as I understand it, between the state of Vermont and the federal government that funds projects within the most distressed counties of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York. So what you can see in their website here are the counties that are eligible for NBRC funding, Vermont is actually the only state in the total area where all counties are eligible for funding. And what is, in many ways unique about this program is that it allows for a lot of collaboration between the federal and the state program officers, so we can deploy programs that are really specific to Vermont's needs. And I'll let Rob jump in about our 2 projects that are ongoing in Vermont.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so we have $3.5 million in funding from the Northern Borders Regional Commission. The first of these grants was from the Rural Forest Economic Partnership Grant. This is something that just before the VCBB got started, we were able to secure, and this is about leveraging financing. This is funding the work with Quantified Ventures. It's funding some grants to the CUDs to leverage financing. It's funding some staff time as well. The second set of funding is actually 2 years of state capacity funding. These were 2 grants for $1.25 million each, that because of our success with the leveraging financing and the trust they had in the management of the program, that this funding was provided to the VCBB. About half of this funding goes to what we called the Spices Grant, which is the shared services funding that we gave the CUDs. The other half of it funds I think it's now portions of 3 different staff members and several contracts. This funding goes till the end of 2026 now after recent extensions.
Thanks
Thank
very
you, Rob.
much.
Okay, and I also wanted to invite JB Ledoux to just talk a little bit about the budgeting process and where we're at in the FY27 budgeting process.
Yeah, thanks, Kay. That process is going to start a little bit later in the summer, in about September, I think, once the bulk of the closing of the fiscal year 25 has occurred. This year's is going to be a bit different, as they are having us change to some different software that we haven't used previously. So it's going to be a learning curve for all of us. The only major, not even major change, but the only change that I can really foresee for VCBB is that I assume that the ARPA interest that we have known now for a little while has become available to us, is going to have to be taken into consideration for the FY27 budget, because so far we've used excess receipt requests as a means to secure that money, and the explanation for that was because we were unaware of those funds when we were planning for the fiscal year 25 and 26 budgets, but that will no longer be the case. So yeah, I would say that by October, we will have a better grasp on how the FY27 budget is looking. If there's any specific questions about that process, I can field those now or whenever they might arise.
I don't have any questions.
Any
Yeah, so we
questions
will-
Thank you,
about?
JB.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Christine.
I was going to say, if you're ready to are you ready to summarize, Christina?
Yes, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if there are any questions about the funding sources for the FY26 operating budget. Happy to pull up the slides again as well.
Yeah, and we'll need a
I don't have any
resolution approving the budget. As we talked the last meeting, the board wanted to see the sources before you approve the budget, but we will need a resolution approving the FY26 budget.
You're not expecting that in this meeting, are you?
Well,
No, you have to have it now because it starts
2
right
weeks
away.
ago. Mhm.
Well, it's,
2 weeks
yeah,
ago.
it starts July 1st,
Mhm.
so.
Yep. So, all right. I don't have any further questions. I appreciate you pulling together the sources of funding and the breakdowns. So with that, go ahead, Laura.
This is great. I have no questions. Thank you very much. Helpful. I am curious about how far forward looking we are going in terms of funding, just because we have had so much federal funding come in. And so that would be great to just have a sense of when we'll be able to look out not only to next year, but if you could perhaps do some projections for the year after.
Yeah, we can provide that. We're certainly looking at that all the time, so I'm happy to present that in a future board meeting.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Sarah, did you have something?
Well, I just wondered, are we resolving to accept this budget, or are we approving this budget? Before I make a resolution, I thought I ought to clarify what we need.
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't know. Do you want to answer that, Dan, or would you like me to answer that?
Go ahead, because I'm not crystal clear. I think we have to approve the budget going forward for 2026, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
budget as proposed to the board in the June meeting.
Okay, so I will move that we approve the budget proposed for FY26 as presented to us.
I'll second
Thank you,
that.
Sarah. Thank you, Laura. All in favor? Actually, any
Aye.
further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Thank you very much for presentation on the budget, and congratulations, you have another year's budget approved.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Next item 6 is telehealth. That is with Roz.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I haven't joined one of your meetings before. So my name is Roz King. I'm the Chief of Research for Emergency Medicine over at the College of Medicine. And I'm also the Principal Investigator for the Vital Project, which I think I'm going to be telling you about today. Bear with me a second. I'm a Zoom person, so let's hope that this works. Can you see my slide deck here?
Yes.
Thank you. So Vital VT is the virtual integration for telehealth access through libraries in Vermont. And so we were fortunate enough to, well, maybe I'll give you a little bit of background first. So in emergency medicine, the research we do is often about bringing the care we provide outside the four walls of our department, and how we can get it out into the community in new and novel ways. And so we were workshopping this idea for a while, and how we harness the strength we have in telehealth out in the communities. And I was sitting in a health network-based meeting where we talked about putting telehealth into Dollar Generals. I guess New York State has a high number of Dollar Generals per capita, and obviously our health network includes our New York State partners. And people seemed pretty excited about the idea, and I left it feeling kind of heartbroken. No shade thrown to Dollar Generals. I think they're places that people obviously need, but it just didn't feel like it lined up with our values in terms of serving our community well. And then I'm lucky enough to be a South Burlington resident. And I don't know if any of you have been lucky enough to go to the South Burlington Library, but we are very lucky to have it. It's beautiful, and the librarians there are fantastic. And as I was there, I saw the librarians working hard to help members of the community, including my kids who were running rampant around the library. And that kind of got my wheels turning of, hey, how about instead of the Dollar General, our local libraries feels like a bit more wholesome and in line with our clinical and academic missions across our institution. So that's how Vital VT was born. And so we applied for funding through the Leahy Institute. So the UVM has recently partnered with a new institute. It's the Leahy Institute for Rural Partnerships, which is obviously part of Senator Leahy's legacy. we're fortunate to have it. And so they offer a series of grant funding. One of them is this smaller $10,000 partnership grant where you find a group of partners to work together towards a common goal, with the idea that you can then return a year later and hopefully apply for one of their bigger funding sources, which is about $250K for a year to kind of make your project a reality. And so we are in the first part of this. So we're in the smaller of the two grants to really work on piloting our idea. And so we developed this plan to try and strengthen community partnerships that could support and sustain a library-based telehealth service. And so we have a couple of goals here as part of the grant. And the first is to just form this interdisciplinary group of stakeholders and partners that can engage in the project over this 12-month period. And we've done that with many of the partners we have on this phone call, many of our local librarians coming in to help, some of our case management colleagues over at the Medical Center and Health Network. And so that part is well underway. We're in month 7 of the grant right now. We're a little bit behind schedule, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But what we're really doing is we're taking these 12 months to perform a series of assessments, readiness assessments, and needs assessments. And so we've found this great workbook that actually guides us through the entire process. And so it's broken out into these 3 assessments. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about a little bit today is this library needs and readiness assessment. And we've surveyed all of the local libraries in Vermont to try and collect data on where the gaps and friction points might be and where the most support is. And so this is the workbook that we're working through. It's called Telehealth in Libraries. It's a pre-implementation workbook. We have 185 libraries, I'm told, in Vermont, and we are trying to get a readiness assessment on at least 50% of them. And I'm excited to say that we're achieving that goal. We're at 54%. So these are some of the libraries, or these are all the libraries so far. This is data that I pulled last week that we have responses from. And so this is 99 out of that 105 libraries. Not pictured here are a couple of school libraries that also completed the survey. We still want to look at that data, but our main target is the like public libraries, with a special focus on our rural libraries. So I just pulled some interesting data points that I thought might be of interest to you. And so I'll just run through some of these. These are some of the different questions we asked, not all of them, but we found that 78% of respondents have thought about telehealth at their library. 43 of the respondents, 43%, have talked to their board about telemedicine. 88% of respondents say that their board is supportive of the library offering telemedicine visits to patrons. And interestingly, 5% of our libraries that have responded actually currently participate in telehealth. And this looked like it was in varying forms. But you can see the libraries listed down here. It was Brooks Memorial, Georgia Public Library, John G. McCullough, Whittingham Free Public Library, Greensboro, and Orwell have some kind of telehealth capacity currently being offered in their library. We polled people on how interested they were in having their library participate in telehealth. We really wanted to get a sense of, we didn't want to be forcing this on anybody if it wasn't of interest to the people working in the libraries. You can see here that for the most part, people report a 50% or higher level of interest in participating in telehealth. But obviously some people here not being as excited about it, a small cluster here that absolutely want nothing to do with it. And we have these results so they're identifiable to the location, so we can see who those respondents are who really aren't interested as well. Space is a big issue that we talk about a lot, and we've already started troubleshooting ideas and ways around this. 51% of libraries report that they have a public space that their patrons, a private space, excuse me, that their patrons can use. 20% say they have external cameras that library patrons can check out. And please feel free to stop me at any point if you have questions or want to talk about different aspects of this. I'm happy to answer questions as I go. We wanted to know about accessibility devices. So what we were trying to think ahead to what are some of the friction points that would prevent people from being able to pursue telehealth in their library. 23% roughly have access to accessibility devices for people. These are things like magnify glasses, things that make it easier for people to read, maybe get around their library as well. 98% of libraries completing the survey said they have sufficient internet speed to stream videos without interruption. 98% of libraries have Wi-Fi outside. This is one of the really neat things about this project. When we work in emergency medicine, we end up with a lot of different collaborators and partners. And I have to tell you that I knew so little about digital equity and what exists in terms of internet resources beyond what we have at the medical center. And so it's been really neat to learn some things that are outside of my wheelhouse. So one of the things I didn't realize is the hard work that so many have done, especially as a result of COVID, to get Wi-Fi outside of the library so that people could go there and use it. And so 98%, this is probably not surprising to any of you, but it was neat for me to learn that 98% of libraries have Wi-Fi outside of the building. 92% have staff that would be available to assist people with connecting to internet resources if that were an issue for people coming in using the telehealth that might be there. And these were just some of the comments that I pulled on what people were saying about connectivity issues if they felt they had them at their library. So some people reported that the internet was slow and spotty. They said it wasn't exactly stable. They frequently have to reset devices during the day. Some people felt it was weather dependent. They reported occasional infrequent outages. A couple of people said their internet was slow enough to cause freezing or glitching during Zoom. A couple of people just wanted to share that they have really great internet and shared that on their survey. Some people were reporting slow internet times. This one was interesting. Some people report that their Wi-Fi shut off. There were time limits on it, and then it came back on in the morning. That sometimes when there are a lot of people on, it could be slower. Sometimes out in the parking lot, the internet is slower. Some people reported needing new supports for their internet use. 74% of staff, 74% of libraries said that they would have staff who could assist with scheduling private spaces. 91% of libraries have a privacy or confidentiality policy. We felt like this was really important, especially with people being more protective than ever of the confidentiality of their healthcare needs and what they're seeking care for. And then here we have 36% of libraries saying that they have a secure network for patrons to use. 28% weren't sure if they did or not. People were quick to share comments about telehealth, saying that they have some private rooms that could be booked by people for calls, and that they also have devices that people could sign out. A lot of libraries said they had laptops that people could sign out, webcam-enabled devices, so they could take them to a private place even if their library didn't have them already. One of the libraries already has grant funding to pursue building a new library, and they're keeping private spaces in mind for telehealth needs. This was just some data on the breakdown of internet providers across the rural libraries. And then this was just a QR code in case anyone wants to see the questions we asked. You can scan this with your cell phone if you like, and it'll pull up the entire survey so you can see the questions we're asking. So the next thing we have lined up is the community needs assessment. This was supposed to be conducted by the end of May. We're obviously behind schedule for a variety of reasons, but this will take you to the community needs assessment. So this is the next piece. So I mentioned earlier that we have a three-pronged approach. First, we're assessing the needs and possible friction points for our local libraries. Then we're doing a very broad community needs assessment to see if we can anticipate what the needs of our communities are. And then lastly, we're doing a healthcare provider needs assessment, and this is a QR code to that survey as well, that will be going out probably in the next month now. So these three things together, we're hoping will guide us in terms of what the needs are and where we need to be pouring resource, with the idea that we'll identify at least 2 sites in our rural areas that we could pilot telehealth at the library. And so we're going to be combining these 3 resources and sets of data to identify what those 2 sites are. We then plan on applying for the next round of LAHI funding to make that a reality and spend the following year piloting telehealth at those sites. And I'm happy to answer any questions or have any conversation about what we're doing.
That was great, Roz. Thank you. Any questions for Roz?
Real quick, Dan. Roz, I was just interested in your pivot from the Dollar Generals to the libraries early on in your discussion. I guess demographically, there's way more library locations than there would be Dollar Generals, right? So you're getting closer to the front lines of where the people reside and live. But from an economic standpoint, as you look to build out these solutions, it's got to be more expensive to deal with the libraries just in terms of whatever hardware and software and telecommunications is necessary to connect those sites to the service you're describing. Is that fair?
I don't know. I think it gets a little bit tricky too when we're talking about applying for Leahy funding, especially, and then probably a large amount of philanthropic dollars to support these efforts. I think from a philanthropic standpoint, it's a lot easier to make an ask of someone to donate money, resource to a local library than it is to a for-profit business. And so I think that's the part that feels a little antithetical to our mission, is that we're supporting something that is for profit. And then there's potentially like there's a different interest driving the Dollar General getting people in their doors versus the libraries. And the libraries always want to welcome people in. They're looking for any reason to bring them in, and is not in any way related to a profit for them. Whereas the Dollar General, any store, we're using Dollar General as an example, but it could be anything, it could be a Starbucks. There's a profit driver there that just doesn't feel great to us. When we talk about the economic divide, the person isn't going to show up to the library and be faced with ads, or maybe have 2 kids in tow, and that's why the library was easier, and then have the kids saying, can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? There isn't going to be this pressure to have to give anything in return. And I'm on a soapbox here, Brian, because I absolutely love libraries, but that's what makes libraries so special, is they're not asking for anything in return. So I think that's the big difference. It's also a bit more of an equity issue.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Would you envision that the library facilities properly equipped would be able to deliver, I don't know if it's 24-hour service, but near 24-hour service? Is that feasible operationally?
I doubt it will be feasible. And this is where part of that both community needs and provider needs assessment comes in. So we had so many ideas at the beginning, especially from the clinical standpoint of what we wanted to offer. There was a group of us that were like, this would be a great urgent care where we can just have open hours and anyone can drop in for an emergent need that keeps them out of the ED. And then there was a group of people that said, it would be great if we had like a mental health clinic here. And then, our urology partners were like, actually, it'd be great to have follow-up from post-UTI patients that could come in with their strainer and show us the stones they collect. And everyone had a different angle of what they thought the need was. And that's when we realized, like, hey, we can say what we think it is all day, but what we really need to do is hear from the community and where these gaps are. And so, maybe we know that one of the counties in Vermont, for example, has not a single primary care provider under the age of 65. So that county's need is going to be primary care. Whereas, one of our other rural counties might be that they have OB is a prime example. So our obstetrics departments are closing, some of them across the state. What's that going to look like for prenatal, postnatal care? Maybe some of those areas will need a prenatal, postnatal clinic. And so we really want to see, we don't want to make any predictions of what we think the needs are, because it's going to be biased based on what our services are that we provide. Does that answer your question?
That makes sense. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that makes a ton of sense.
Interestingly, here in Montpelier, our library has actually opened a different entrance for a teen center that's open beyond the library hours, so that kids can be there.
Oh, I love that. What town is that?
In Montpelier.
Oh, Montpelier, you said. Oh, great. I didn't know that. That's awesome. And I will just give a shout out to Heron and Rob, who I know are on the call. They've been great partners with us in making this happen and providing some insight that we certainly wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So I really appreciate that.
And Roz, the assumption, I'm assuming the assumption is, that, can you say that? That doesn't sound
I think
right.
you can.
Anyway.
Why not? That
UVM Medical Center will kind of be, regardless of what services are being provided, and the combination, like you just said, let the community dictate that UVM will be on the other side of the glass. There'll be the anchor institution that'll be providing the clinical care back to the library sites in whatever configuration is being requested by the community.
That's the thought, but I would broaden that to the UVM Health Network rather than just the UVM Medical Center. So it depends on the site. But yes, the UVM Health Network would be the clinical arm supporting this. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions I can answer?
Just last one, have you seen, I'm just going back to my COVID days where there was a mad scramble by all of the, Medicare, Medicaid, all the commercial insurance companies to pay for telehealth services, et cetera. Is you guys would not have to be plowing new ground to gain approval for how these services would be paid for. That's all well established. You'd just be creating the sites and increasing the access so that all of that billing and regulatory process could operate smoothly. Is that correct?
I'm very nervous, Brian, to say yes out loud. I think there's so much that's uncertain right now with the Center for Medicaid and Medicare. I want to say yes, absolutely. I think everything's at jeopardy in current state, but the hope is that yes, the ground we've broken during COVID will continue to be there, and we'll still be able to offer this low barrier approach to people getting the care they need. That's the hope. I will say that for the pilot phase, we're not going to be looking to have this reimbursed during that. This will be a hypothetical, what will the return on investment be? But it's not the main driver for this. Obviously, it's a reality, like we have to consider healthcare finance as a measure that we're looking at here. But when you get into cost savings in healthcare research, it gets very convoluted, as I'm sure you know. Who are we really saving costs for? And really, the only ones we're interested in saving costs for, from my approach, is the patient. But it does get a little messy. So yes, we hope that will continue with our fingers double, triple crossed. We won't be looking to make anything reimbursable during this 2-year pilot phase, the year we're in now, and then the subsequent year. And then we will be looking in the future to see if this is sustainable for the health network.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the opportunity to come chat with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, the funding changes don't affect this program, and maybe we can hear more about this as you get to your implementation plan.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'll be in touch with Heron and Rob, and yeah, I'd love to come back at some point with some good news.
Great. Thank you.
Right, thanks.
Thanks, Russ.
Bye.
Okay. Next item 7 is the parking lot.
Yep, Jenny Reboyne will take that. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Sorry, I was just making sure that this caught up so everyone could see the screen okay. And Giga is acting a little wonky today. So the items on this slide and the next one continue to be in progress. On the battery backup issue and the carrier of last resort and performance monitoring, we continue to work with PSD and the CUDs to draft, and we will be drafting legislation that we'll be bringing back to the board. Item 137 regarding the long draw program. The RFA is out, and we're working to get that loaded into Amplifund. For the sub-grantee selection, staff will have a formal recommendation to the board for each award, and then a checklist of items that the board can review to ensure that staff has followed the approved process. The items on this slide, specifically the annual report policy and the recoupment policy, have been on the back burner a bit with the BEAD restructuring policy notice. Staff will be returning to those issues in August. Of course, the board terms are on there as a reminder, so that will stay on there. And then number 145, which is NEKCV and some press around the community center in Groton. Ms. Herzog did reach out to Krista, and together they decided that they wanted to wait until that community center was officially open to do some press around that. These are the items that have been completed. And then on this next slide, there are, oh goodness, which is it? That you received an addendum from Mr. Montserrat with the update on the policy notice. That came out just after the weekly. And then items 143 and 144 both were completed or will be completed as of the ending of this board meeting. So if you have any questions, please always reach out to me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Moving right along, Vcuda update.
Thank you, Dan. Just a couple quick things. One of the CDs mentioned that they thought the long drop program was on pause while we got through these other programs. So we would appreciate just a clarification on that if we could. But just a couple quick updates. One, the CUDs continue to do a lot of different things. There's a lot of activity in each CUD in different areas, and we'll allow them to kind of report to you. And I know you all see updates through the CBB's staff size of what's going on. But a couple kind of common things to note for you today. One is we're starting a new compliance program kind of looking forward. We're going to have Lerman Center come in with support from the Spices grant and do a series of workshops on the changing compliance and regulatory environment. As you know, there have been, kind of an evolution of where the CUDs are in their own operations, but also the FCC and the courts have had a number of decisions in the last few months that are beginning to kind of change the regulatory environment. And so we've asked Lerman Center to come kind of do an update on compliance and looking forward in terms of activities we need to look forward to. And so we're looking forward to presenting that and making that available to the CUDs. Lamoille wanted to make sure that you all were aware that they completed construction of phase 2. That's the 26 miles they had in Hyde Park, Stowe, Elmore, and Wilcott. And they're now activating services in that area. And then the last thing is just a general appreciation and admiration for VCBB staff. This is obvious, but I want to say it out loud. After 2 years of planning a completely different program, to be given a 90-day timeline to execute a different program is mind-boggling. I think that's probably the best way I can phrase it. And we just wanted to, note our appreciation for what you all are going through and trying to put this thing together, and our appreciation for your perseverance in trying to get it done in an absolutely insane amount of time. So that's it, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Rob? Okay, thank you, Rob. And full agreement on the timeline changes. That is kind of crazy, but fortunately, a lot of work had been done up front to prepare for some of those.
If you'd like, Rob, in terms of your question about the long drop, it is currently on hold currently, but Christina and I, well, we've been looking at the Amplifund side of it and a couple other things. The reason why it was put on hold initially is there was very little appetite due to the fact that suddenly everyone was pivoting on BEAD, and we thought it would be prudent to wait and sort of do a reset, relaunch, put some new dates. So that will be happening soon.
Thank you. That's consistent. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to change the order really quick for one moment about item 10, because I know Laura's going to step away. August 11th, confirmation of the next meeting. Does that work for everyone?
Dan, I didn't hear you. Can you say it again?
I'm just changing up our order. I want to confirm August 11th as our next meeting date while we still have Laura.
Great, thank you.
Brian's a thumbs up.
That works for me, with the exception that, as I do on every Monday, I will have a meeting from 1 to 2 at my regular year-round job that I cannot miss.
Okay. Sarah, does that still work for you?
I'll have to leave. How long was this meeting supposed to be? Was this a regular meeting?
It's a regular meeting.
Okay, I'll have to leave at like 2:30. So, sorry, I made a calendar mistake. You're talking August 11th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the agenda, maybe we get done more quickly.
Maybe we can put the voting things early so you have a quorum.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll structure it accordingly.
Thank
Okay.
you.
we'll leave it
Thanks,
on
Dan.
for the 11th. Thank you, Laura. Okay. So, Christine, we're going to go back to number 9, public comment. And then after that, we have some updates and executive sessions all bunched together for efficiency. So, Christine, would you
Okay.
mind carrying forward?
Okay,
public
so,
comment?
right, if any public wants to make a comment, raise your hand. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. And if you're on the phone, just
I'm sorry,
verbally request. Did I hear someone who wants to speak? Okay. Okay, anyway, looking for requests who would like to speak.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're good.
Quiet group. Okay, so next item is 11, DV fiber grant amendment.
Yep, and Christina will introduce this, and then Patrick Moreland from DV Fiber will follow and provide the details. Go ahead, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So this item is a potential grant agreement from DV Fiber and Patrick Moreland, their new executive director. Based on conversations with Christine and Tony, our expectation as the board does not need to act on this amendment, but we're providing information on the reasons for the amendment, and Patrick Moreland will provide a little bit more details here, but essentially they have the opportunity to use funds, remaining funds in their current broadband construction grant agreement to reach more addresses than originally planned. So because it is a change to their construction project, we will plan to execute that amendment, but it's a good news story that they'll be able to do more than they originally anticipated. And so with that, I will invite Patrick Moreland, who is DV Fiber's, I want to say new because I don't think he's been officially introduced to the board, but we've been working with him so closely over the past couple of months. It feels like he's been with them for quite a while, but he is the current executive director.
Yeah, and I will say, just from the entire team, we are very impressed working with Patrick. It was a great choice, and we're very impressed with how quick you've come up to speed and your deep understanding of the issues. So thank you, Patrick.
Well, boy, thank you guys. I mean, that's a heck of an introduction. I very much appreciate it. To the board, my name is Patrick Moreland. As was pointed out, I am the executive director for DV Fiber, and I'm here today to talk to you about a range of topics, including our business posture and our steps towards sustainability. We'll be talking about that in executive session. At the moment, we'll be talking about the amendment that we've been working on with the VCBB staff. So, as was pointed out, I am new to this position, and one of the things I wanted to do upon taking on this role was to evaluate how we were doing with our largest construction grant. And you could look at that a couple of different ways. One way would be, have we delivered what we have promised? And I think the answer to that is certainly yes. We have 21 out of 22 fiber service areas currently lit and serving customers. We have one remaining fiber service area that has not been lit. That is currently about to be lit up, we believe, in the next couple of weeks. We're awaiting make-ready work on a 6-mile stretch of backbone to connect that last FSA. And once that's lit up, we will have achieved what we promised to do via our grant agreement with the VCBB. But no, the examination that I wanted to undertake was, have we maximized the value of the construction grant that we have? And so in order to do that, we had to combine 3 numbers: the value of what has been spent so far, the value of work that has been performed but not yet invoiced, and then the value of all remaining work. And when we were able to put these 3 numbers together and compare that to the value of the grant, it became quite apparent that there was just under $6 million going to be remaining unspent. And so we immediately reached out to the VCBB staff and started having conversations that we feel have been very productive and we are deeply appreciative of. And so we're here today to notify the board of our intention to continue construction for another year. We will work with the staff to extend out our construction timeframe from July 1 of 25 to September 1 of 26. Still having all the administrative paperwork and final reporting completed by December 31st. And our efforts will assist us to reach another 192 underserved and unserved locations within our service territory, principally in Western Brattleboro and Dummerston. And this additional work will do a great deal of benefit to this particular CUD. First and foremost, the ability to provide service to the people we exist to serve is a benefit in and of itself. But more financially, this grant is important because it allows us to take on overhead and administrative costs in support of construction can be covered by the grant for yet another year. And this is tremendously beneficial in our long-term financial outlook. And so that would be our plan. We are moving forward. There is no need for any additional financial resources, just to work out with the staff an extension of time and to continue our construction efforts to reach the unserved and underserved. And with that, I'll step back and see if there are any questions or comments.
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions for Patrick? Sounds like a good story, good situation to be in, considering
Great presentation.
difficulty. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to say just how deeply we appreciate the VCBB staff. I know I'm a little new, have a lot to learn, but everybody has been supportive and helpful. And, you know, the goal and the objective is how do we maximize benefit for the financial commitments we've already made. And so that's very rewarding.
Great to hear. Okay. Well, with that then, thank you. And I think we'll move on to the next item, which is 12. And through all the metrics and everything that we've looked at, we decided that we would, from month to month, do a deeper dive on each one of the CUDs so we could get some deeper information. This one is with DV Fiber, and we're going to go into executive session because some of the information there is going to be protected. So executive session pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313A6, which protects records exempt from access to the public record law, specifically 1 VSA subsection 317C9, confidential business records or information. I'll make a motion to move to executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Dan.
Thank you, Sarah. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Christine, could you, or whoever will take care of moving us over to executive session, and I think it will just be staff and board.
Yep, BVCB staff and DV Fiber staff.
Yep.
Ginny, Ginny will take care of that for us. Ginny,
Yep,
if you
so-
can provide us. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Christine. Patrick,
Nope.
I was told Denise wanted to be in on the executive session, but I don't see that she joined the meeting. Is she on a phone number, perhaps?
You know, I don't honestly know, but Denise, if you're with us and can make your presence felt.
Oh,
I'm here, Patrick. Stephen John.
Hi.
Sure.
How are you, Stephen? Do you happen to
I
know
have
if Denise is on the call? Actually, I can text her.
I don't see her. I do have Stephen John in the executive session as well, so I can go ahead and open the room, and that will start bringing you over.
I did send Denise a link, so hopefully you can access her email.
Does that sound good to everyone?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, take it away.
All right, here you go. Okay, so we should be moving over, excuse me.
Also.
Feeling kind of lonely here.
I know, what is going on? Oh, Dan, that was my fault. I'm sorry. Here we go.
It's okay.
You're doing a great job, by the way.
I apologize. I'm in the car now. I had to run out for a bit of an emergency, but nothing big. But that's why I'm not on video and why you may have seen the top of the screen of my car.
Presume. Okay, it looks like see there, Sarah. Okay, we've all returned back from executive session. No decisions were made in the session. It was informative only. And now we were looking at item 13 on our agenda, new position of the Department of Treasury on BEAD match, which is an executive session, again, pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313A1F, confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body. This is in regards to an NEK construction grant amendment. Press to shoot the executive session pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313A6, protects records exempt from access to the public record law, specifically 1 VSA subsection 317 C9, confidential business records. In addition to the board, Christine, who should we have in here?
Well, we should have BCB staff and NEK CV staff.
NEK, okay, all of the whole group. Okay, thank you.
Lisa.
And Lisa Birmingham.
And Lisa Birmingham.
Oh, yeah, Lisa's
and
part of this as
Is
well.
Andy here?
Additional.
Yep. Yeah,
Thank
this is Andy. I joined while you all were in executive session, so I'm here as well now.
So I have the,
So,
clarification would be NEK CV staff, BCB staff, and addition would be Lisa Birmingham from Lamoille, because this part of this whole discussion is some of the work that Lamoille is transferring over to CV. Proposed
And
transfer.
okay.
Christine, this is Andrew Ross as well from Lamoille. So if I could be added in there too.
Okay,
Our board chair,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay. So before we
Thanks.
move, let's make it official. I'll make the motion to move over. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Dan.
Hey, Sarah, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. We will move over, please.
Hi. So I don't understand. Yeah.
Chrissy, you're still in the public.
Okay. There's Brian. I don't see Tony. Doesn't mean I'm seeing everybody. We're back from executive session. There's one motion we will make.
Should I go ahead with that now or?
Certainly.
All right. So, the motion would be that, staff has requested and the board is granting staff's request to, make some modifications to the existing reconstruction and construction grants, between Lamoille and, NEKCV in order to allow the two CUDs to coordinate certain construction in the Walcott area.
Period.
Period.
All right. I guess that'll be my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I was waiting for you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Tony. All right. This is essentially the end of the general session. We do have one more executive session to enter where we discuss personnel matters. Laura, are you back? Welcome back. So I'll make a motion to move to executive session for a discussion of personnel matters pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313A33, authorizing public body to hold a session to consider personnel matters. Is there a second? I know who it's going to be.
Second.
Laura, thank you. I presume no discussion, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 And thank you. If we could pull in, I have one small adjustment. Tony and Christine, please, into this executive session. So it would be the four of us plus Tony and Christine.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, maybe we aren't going to executive session today.
I think we should be, Ginny, are we?
She's just making sure she's got everybody moved out, that's all.
Oh, okay.
She's almost ready.
Teams takes just a second to do these things.
No.
We will be patient.